Hey, 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 happy Monday, y'all, and welcome to another Monday Night Live, a time I connect biblical principles with your entrepreneurial journey. I'm always excited, blessed, and happy to be here. So, as you come in, whether you come in live or watch the replay, you know what I'm getting ready to say. Those of you that are here week after week, say hey, hey, girl, hey, hey. Tell me name and where you're joining from. I will admit to you. So, I was on vacation last week. I was in Paris. Yay, bonjour. Yes. And so if I talk a little crazy tonight, it's because for me, as I'm live here at 7 p.m., it is what's 7 plus 6. It's what, like 1 a.m. in Paris. So yeah. So, nevertheless, I'm excited to be back, continuing our conversation. So, tonight is part 6 in a series that I've been doing called Master the Marketplace, the 10 Commandments to do business the way God intended. And so if you missed any of the 10, I'm going to encourage you to go back on my YouTube channel, nrjnetwork.com. Some of you guys are already on my YouTube channel and go and watch. But I'm going to quickly review 1 through 5. And then tonight is number 6. And the way that I teach, you need all 6, right? You need all 10, but each one builds on the next. It'll make sense when you watch them all. Okay. So with that said, number 1 was you must say yes to your calling. Listen, God gives you a gift at birth. Just because He gives it to you, He doesn't make you do the thing that He crafted and created you to do. He's given us free will. The question is, will you do what God has called you to do, right? Sorry, I feel like I'm not in the center on my video, going the wrong way. So that's what happens when you haven't been here for a while, okay? So with that, let's go much over some more. Now I'm in center. All right, so that was number 1. You must say yes to your calling. Why do you have to say yes to it again? Because God has given you free will. He doesn't make you do it. He hopes that you would do it. He is waiting for you to do it. So go watch that. That's a whole conversation by itself. Number 2 is you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The thing I've learned in this journey is that many of us know we have this thing we're crafted and created to do. We know we're called. We know we have purpose, but we're scared to do it. So you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And by the way, each of these episodes, I give you at least 3 steps. Sometimes I give you more, right? Number 3 is you must be a servant leader. And I give you great examples, but our ultimate example of servant leadership is Jesus. You guys remember the bracelets we used to wear in the 80s, I think it was? WWJD, what would Jesus do? So servant leadership is definitely really paying homage to Jesus and how He lived, breathed, and had His being when He was here on earth. Number 4 is you must have a singular focus. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. But when I see so many businesses fail, you're trying to do too many things, or you're not clear on the one thing God's created you to do. Listen, you're not everybody's answer. You're somebody's answer. In order for that somebody to hear what they need from you, you've got to have a singular focus, a singular conversation, a singular way that you take that thought leadership to become the authority in your field. Then number 5, which is our last one, is you must draft a winning team. You must draft a winning team. So again, if you've missed any of 1 through 5, go back on my YouTube channel. There you see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen, nrjnetwork.com. So now we are at part 6. Our conversation tonight is part 6, which is never underestimate your competition. Now, this is part of you drafting a winning team. And once you draft that team, listen, I want you to think about it like this. How many football games have you watched? And let me be honest with you, I've only seen this happen at the Super Bowl or when I have been around my husband and been watching a game and, just on a fluke see this happen where one team has a advanced like 20, maybe even a 30-point lead. And that coach thinks to himself, well, we got this game on lock. And they're not worried. They go to take a halftime, take a break, and the team goes, take the break, they come back, and the underdog team comes back and wins the game. So you can never get too comfortable. This is being comfortable with being uncomfortable, but don't even get comfortable with where you are. But also don't let your uncomfort stop you, is the lesson here. Think about the difference between Netflix and Blockbuster. What if Netflix would have realized what was happening with Blockbuster? Hello. And actually learned a lesson and moved it forward. I'm gonna teach you the four things that you can do to allow your competition to actually help you grow your business. But before I do that, let me give you our foundational Bible verse here. Okay. So listen, many people think that competition means that someone, oh, they took my client, or oh, I could never do that because somebody else is doing that. Mm-mm. Instead, what it does is it teaches you valuable lessons about your mindset. So my question to you is, do you have a scarcity mindset or an abundant mindset? So Bible verse here, or really story, is as you probably know, Moses was in the wilderness for years. In the wilderness, the children of Israel following Moses. And so they get to the edge of their promised land. And God says, I want you to go in and check out the scene. In other words, I want you to go analyze the competition. So Moses sends 12 spies to go look. Okay. So in Numbers 13, 30 through 31 is them coming back to say what they saw. Okay. So again, this is Numbers 13, 30, and 31. Okay. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. So Caleb and, oh, his name just went out of my head. Caleb and Joshua, two of the 12, said, let's go. We can do it. The other 10, my phone's talking, scaring me. Oh, y'all saw me jump my Siri's talking. Anyway, the other 10 said, we can't take them. So I need you to understand this. There will be a time in your business where there is competition because listen, there's nothing new under the sun that any of us do. The question is, do you know who you are and how you do it in a way that is different in your marketplace? And what I'm going to walk you through are the four lessons to gain from competition that will help you grow your business. So instead of letting it paralyze you, which is what a scarcity mindset does, right? So a scarcity mindset, it is a one that views life's possibilities. Excuse me, I'm reading the wrong one. A scarcity mindset is when you're so obsessed with a lack of something or the way that something seems that you focus only on what you can see. That's not even faith. Because Hebrews 11:1 is faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Need y'all to get this. Y'all are quiet in the chat. Y'all are quiet. Abundance mindset is a perspective that views life's possibilities as limitless. Why? Because we serve a limitless God. As my auntie said, and I say it here all the time, she said to me one year, don't limit God's ability to bless you. Well, what Joshua and Caleb said when they came back is, listen, I'm trusting God. We can take them. The other 10 spies were saying, wait a minute, they look kind of big, right? So how do you shift your perspective to go after your abundance mindset so that you learn the lessons? So let me walk you through the four ways to do that. You ready? You got a pen? Number one, what your competitors teach you or what your market needs. Maybe there's an expansive way to do it. Like again, Airbnb came. Airbnb began a different way for people to rent rooms or rent homes even. So it didn't mean we don't need hotels anymore. It just gave an opportunity for every hotel to look at what they did in a different way. You guys get that? So again, what lessons can you learn? This is what we call market analysis. When you're doing a business plan, one of the things you have to do is analyze your market. So you analyze your market is looking at how are needs being served in your market. Doesn't mean you need to do it like everybody else is doing it. God didn't create you to be a cookie cutter, a version of somebody else. Sorry, y'all, I'm having a hot flash. Right, so I'm putting on my fan. So if you can hear it, I apologize. Right? So God didn't create you to be a cookie cutter version of somebody else. He created you and in a unique way. But if you see a need being addressed that you're not addressing, the question is, how can you address it in your own special way? That's number one. Number two, this speaks to number one, it offers a way for you to learn to improve. Okay. So it's not about comparing, it's about improving. Comparing yourself to someone else makes you pretty much, oftentimes it'll make you stand still, make you feel less than. That's that scarcity mindset. That's the 10 spies. The two, Joshua and Caleb, were saying, let's see how we can go after them and make a plan to do it in our own special way. Y'all get that? Hmm. So, this is why Netflix came in and wiped out Blockbuster. Because when Netflix came in, sorry, y'all, I'm having a whole hot flash in the middle, right? When Netflix came in and took over the market, Blockbuster didn't shift, didn't learn, didn't take the time to say, wait a minute, let me look at what's happening in my marketplace, and maybe there might be a way that I can do it in a different way. I need you guys to get this. So it's not that you need to stop doing it. It's not that you need to copy, but you need to see that something is happening. And that's why there is no Blockbuster, because they didn't take time to analyze the market and make a shift. Quick shift they could have made. Well, they did make it, but it was too late. They did it like years later, and everybody was already going to Redbox and Netflix. Y'all remember Redbox, which is gone now too, right? Minnie's hot flashes. Woo! That come on disrespectfully, right? Number two. Okay, so number one was what? Number one was what looking at what the market needs and seeing how they're being served in a way that maybe you're not doing it. Doesn't mean you need to do it in that way. But if I give you a tangible example, again, Airbnb doesn't mean hotels aren't needed, but Airbnb came and did it in a different way. Number two, it helps you look at ways to improve how you do what you do. Okay. Again, I'm gonna say this over and over. Doesn't mean you need to do something different than what's in alignment with you. So if I use myself for an example, I know that God has called me to the marketplace. I'm clear. I am called to help people master the marketplace. That's my calling. Doesn't mean that I don't learn new things, because things are shifting in the marketplace. Things are shifting in social media. Things are shifting with how we run our businesses, especially the online components that I teach my clients. Listen, having online components in your business just happened like 10 to 15 years ago, which means I had to learn that. Mastered it, dare I say, because I was willing to learn it. Get that? So now I have a team that helps my clients create online programs because it's a need of a marketplace and it's in alignment with what I teach. And because I analyze the market, I saw no one else is doing that. Most people do programs for you, and what I have found in the marketplace is when people do programs for you, you're leaving out your secret sauce because you're not a part of the process. Then it makes it harder for you to convert sales because you can't explain something you didn't even create. I can go on and on about that, but I wanted to give you a tangible example. Okay. Number three, when you get clear and you analyze your competition and you look at ways to improve, you see what's happening and how needs are being met, it helps you stand out. What do I mean by that? Listen, you never simply want to do something just because somebody else is doing it, but you always want to look at what is a way you can do it in a different way. So I just shared with you how I began to see that people were creating programs for people, and every person that I met that already had programs and they were trying to hire me, and I would talk to them about the programs they had. None of the way that they described their first of all, they couldn't even describe their programs. So I'm like, how can you not describe a program that is yours? And what I quickly began to realize is people were not creating their own programs. They weren't a part of the process. What I began to realize is, what if I could teach people how to create their own programs and walk them through it? Differentiating myself. You guys get that? So you never want to just jump in, especially if it's not in your wheelhouse. Like, you'll never see me teach. Let me see. You never see me now. I love to shop, but you won't see me be a stylist. I can tell you that that outfit don't work on camera. And I do some online, visual pieces in my business, but I'm not going to full on do styling because that's not in alignment with my gift. It's not. I can style myself, but when you get clear. So a great example of this is Esther, and if you've been around me, you know that Esther is my favorite girl in the Bible. Esther, who was a Jew who should have never been queen. Quick Cliff Note version of Esther. If you haven't read the book of Esther, and I see more of y'all are joining, so at least say hey. Um, if you've never read Esther, go read it. But Esther literally was a Jew who should have never been queen. What her cousin did, who worked in I was going to say the White House, who worked in the palace, said, let me change your name from Hadassah, which was her original Jewish name, to Esther so she could run for queen. Esther stood out because she was herself. I want y'all to get this. Hey, Paula, and hey, Queen Kia. I want you guys to get this. Esther stood out because she did nothing but be herself. The second example I want to give here is David. Now, we've heard the story of David and Goliath, but even before he gets to Goliath, I want to read 1 Samuel 17:32 through 40, because really the conversation that Saul and David have really talks about the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundant mindset. Okay. So again, this is 1 Samuel 17:32 through 40. That David said to Saul, so this is that no man's heart failed because of him, your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So in other words, David said, I'll fight him, right? And Saul said to David, you're not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Scarcity mindset, right? But David comes back with his abundance mindset and says to Saul, your servant used to fight his father's sheep, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it and struck it and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard and struck and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. Moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. Again, David is saying, I could do this because he's using faith as his guide, not what he can see. Because yes, the Philistine is way bigger than him. Yes, nobody else would fight him, right? So then Saul goes on with his scarcity mindset that says, go and the Lord be with you. So Saul clothed David with his armor. Because again, he's using his scarcity mindset, but he only knows, okay? And he put a bronze helmet on his head. He also clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I can't walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. Now, again, imagine Saul is probably a big, huge, army buff dude, right? And David is 12. So Saul is only going by what he knows and what he can see. Scarcity mindset. And David's like, I can't use this. David, again, knew what he needed to do was be himself. So then he took his staff in his hand, this is talking about David, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. So, and he drew near to the Philistine. So David said, you know what? I'm going to take my slingshot and my rocks and I'm going to go fight this Philistine. Why did I read that whole section for you? Because I wanted you to see that Saul was speaking from what he knew. You're a child. You can't fight him. And David's like, yes, I can. Let me tell you all the things that God has done to prepare me for it. And I wonder if you realize that God has prepared you, like Esther, for such a time as this. And if you can find the abundance mindset that's limitless, that knows that everything you've gone through up until now is not just for such a time as this, but listen, Romans, I think it's 8:28 says, all things work together for the good. So what I began to realize, even in my own journey, is every career I've gone through, every even bad breakup I've had, every degree I've gotten, every job I've had, all have taught me a lesson that has allowed me to do this work that I do now. Even when I think about the fact that I worked in the entertainment industry, left entertainment because I felt called to do this work called coaching. And really, what I did in entertainment was production and casting. What do I do? Production and casting. As I'm casting my clients and helping you get in the right role that's in alignment with your purpose, your gift, your calling, and then helping you produce all the ways to work with people. generate revenue, programming, whatever way you want to say that. But that's how God gifted me. I've always been this girl. I've always been a producer, even when I was 5. Why am I sharing that with you? Because again, that's what differentiates me. But I didn't. I stayed true to who I am. It took me years to figure that out, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. But it's allowed me to stand out. So, my question to you, before I say number 4, is in what ways can you learn from those that are doing things in your marketplace that you don't let paralyze you, that you don't say, "Oh, I can't do this," because you start naming all the things that you can't do instead of saying all the things that God can do. Other ways that God has trained you and gifted you and worked you through a process to get you here now. Then the fourth lesson that you can learn from competition is you can't listen to everybody. I'm sure when Netflix started, people probably said, "Are you crazy? You can't do that." Or I'm sure when even Airbnb or even Uber started, I'm sure people told them they were crazy. Just like Tyler Perry, and I go on and on and on and on. Even Kentucky Fried Chicken. Do you know Kentucky Fried Chicken was 60 years old when he started frying chicken and he sold it in a gas station? You can't listen to everybody. Shoot, if Adam hadn't listened to Eve, hello. Bible verse here, 1 Corinthians 15:33. This is the NIV version. Do not be misled. Bad company corrects good character. So, connecting to our conversation in number 5, if you haven't watched number 5, go back and watch number 5. You want to draft a winning team. You may have people on your team that might keep you stuck. Listen, might keep you stuck, Blockbuster, when you need to be going after your next, like Netflix. So you want to make sure, you want to look at when you have people on your team, when you have people on your team, whether it's professionally or even personally, look at, are they making deposits or withdrawals? So think about it this way. If I go to the bank and I keep making a withdrawal, a withdrawal, a withdrawal, a withdrawal, but I never make a deposit, what happens? At some point, if I never deposit anything, I have zero in my account. So the people around you need to equally deposit and withdraw. So if there are no deposits being made, they're not helping you increase. They're keeping you stuck. They're showing you exactly who they are. On the same token, when you see things happening in your marketplace, excuse me, and you want to differentiate yourself, or there's all these things occurring. So again, if I use myself for an example, because when I first started coaching people to start businesses, there was no online programs. I had to learn technology. And then I started realizing, oh my goodness, this is my production coming to play. But had I never stopped to say to myself, Nicole, wait a minute, what's going on around you in your marketplace? I would have never been able to rise to the occasion and grow my business and grow myself even to serve more people in the right way. So that's our conversation for tonight. Again, I'm walking you through the 10 commandments of doing business the way God intended. These are the things that I've learned in my own journey. These are the 10 things I think people overlook and don't realize. These are the 10 things that I think oftentimes will keep you stuck right where you are if you don't take the time to do what you need to do, to learn what you need to learn, to grow where you need to grow. Okay. So again, the 4 lessons that I just walked you through to gain from competition that will help you grow your business is number 1, look at what the needs are in your marketplace. This is again market analysis and looking at how needs are being served in a different way. Number 2, look at the ways you can improve. Not that you have to shift your whole business and do something that's out of alignment with who you are. It might just be a little shift, a little addition, a little new thing you might need to learn and grow, right? Number 3, how to stand out. You don't want to be a copy. Listen, there's already a version of that. That means why would you want to be a second rate version of somebody else's first rate? And if somebody's already doing the thing that you're trying to do in the way that you do it, then why do we need you? So you've got to look at how are you different from the other people. Doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't needed or necessary. It is. But there's something that you bring that's unique that nobody else can do it but you. Because listen, the thing that I think is interesting is we all have DNA, distinct natural ability. And I did a study. I think each of us have, I think it's 4.2 billion cells that make up our DNA. Our molecular makeup, 4.2 billion with a B cells in us, and yet no two of us have the same mix. God is amazing. So if that's the case, what's in me is not in you, and what's in you is not in me, and what's in me is not in Oprah, and what's in Oprah is not in Beyonce, and I can keep going. So you got to get clear on what you were created to do and the way that only you can do it. And then number 4, you can't listen to everybody. Because the other thing that you have to realize too, and I didn't say this, is sometimes when you tell your friends your ideas, they may be scared and say, don't do it like the 10 spies. We can't take them because they can't see what's possible. But it's not their calling, it's yours. And oftentimes, God is going to require your faith to be bigger than anybody around you because they may not see it. It's like being pregnant. Nobody can bring that baby to term but you. And when it's time for the baby to come out, nobody can push it out but you. And so as you begin to look at these 4 areas, I always want to encourage you to look at what of these 4, where are you stuck in your business? Or maybe you haven't started yet because you're stuck in one of these 4. So this is always my invitation to you to grow in the area where you see that you are in deficit. Why? Because God never intended for you to settle for where you are. If you were done, you would no longer be here. I know I say that all the time, but it's real. So with that said, y'all, this our conversation for today. That was number 6. We have 4 more to go. The 10 commandments that God really wants you to understand and really will help you have your business the way that God intended, which God intends for all of us to profit. And that's what this whole series is about. So do me a favor. Number 1, tell me the value you got out of this episode. Number 2, if you got any value, well, can I ask you to share it? Again, I say this every week, not because I'm asking to grow my likes, but I am trying to grow my own assignment, be obedient to the thing that God has called me to do. And you can help me do that by sharing this live. All right. So with that said, y'all, I will see you next week for number 7. Have a good rest of your Monday. Bye, y'all.